And of course, we're taking you everywhere. And our next stop is in Parliament. That's where our bus is parking because there was unprecedented chaos. Sparks flew at the Appointments Committee of Parliament yesterday between the majority and the minority sides over whether to continue vetting Minister Designates Okujeto Ablakwa for Foreign Affairs, Kwabena Mintah-Kandor for Health, in what can aptly be described as Ghana's day of SHAME. Shame. Now, how does Ghana's Parliament redeem its image of being a house of violence? I want you to watch this. A report by our colleague Kweku Asante.
It's not happening. Yes, you always successful before you. Yes, it's not happening. It's not happening. We are not vetting. If you are not vetting, fine. If you are partisan, fine. If you are not vetting, we are not. We are not close. We are not vetting. You are doing that tomorrow. Yes. No. Tomorrow will continue. Tomorrow. We are not going anywhere. We would disrupt. It's not happening. We will vet tomorrow. We'll see. If you dare, challenge everything. Take the clap from the crowd. Take the clap from you. You clap. You are doing it. You meet you. It's not happening. No, it's not happening. Chairman, it's not happening. It's not happening. We are not going anywhere. You see, we are not doing it. We won't do it. It's not happening.
All this happening right in the middle of all this. Austin Game trying to calm things, and there's a violence, there's fight. This is literally two MPs at each other's net. Honorable Hassan Tampuli together with Roxy Nelson Dafemekwa pushing, holding each other's clothes as we speak, and their leaders are trying to separate them, and none of them will allow this to happen, and they've been separated as we speak. But this is chaos. This is a lot of very not so nice scenes as the marshals and other persons try to separate the conflict and the confrontation that is currently ongoing here at the appointment committee, where really not so much good scenes. The 9th Parliament is starting on not so good scenes so far. A lot of policemen walking in. Our policemen are walking in. A lot of policemen from the Parliamentary Protection Unit have now walked in, and they are trying to ensure that there is order and there is calm here ultimately for this process to happen. But this table has become the center of attraction, with MPs pulling and pushing with a lot of confrontation. Please pick it. Yeah. This is chaos. Well, as you can see, I mean, the SMP says they will not allow these tables to be, the tables are literally being pushed, where the NDC MPs trying to rearrange the tables. The MPP MPs are not allowing this to happen. And these are really terrible scenes, as we are seeing in Parliament, with honorable members right at each other's throats, fighting and pushing and pulling tables. saying that this vetting will not happen, that the pushing and pulling is ongoing. This is chaos. This is chaos right here in Parliament. These are reminiscent of some of the scenes we saw when the Speaker of Parliament was elected in the 8th Parliament. But this time around, this is happening at the Appointment Committee of Parliament. A small group of people trying to have some agreement in terms of what exactly they have to do. And there's absolutely no agreement. This is chaotic. This is chaos. The MPs at each other's throat. They say that this will not happen. The vetting process, they will not allow this to happen. And they have push and pull. The police have been beefed up. There's a lot of policemen now in the building where they're trying to sort out the situation and calm things. But it's chaotic. It's really chaotic with all the things that are happening here. Well, it's chaos. The table have been turned. It's chaos, it's chaos, it's chaos, it's chaos. The table have turned. More microphones are falling to the ground and things are being destroyed. The table has broken. The table has been broken with all that we are seeing here. It is obvious that this vetting may not happen. It is obvious that this vetting may not happen with all that is happening, with public property being destroyed and all that is being happening. There's a certain understanding that perhaps this will have to be resolved in another way, and it is clear that this vetting cannot happen with what we are seeing currently here in Parliament.
It's chaos, it's chaos, it's chaos, Benjamin Akapu.
I mean, it was the positioning of Kweku Asante, where he was on that elevated, you know, looking out for himself, of course, and going, it's chaos, and I mean, that was some good reporting. And I just like the way he sequestered himself from
no, Wanka.
No, because too blue, so he got himself on the side and
but then it's in as much as we are looking at the lighter side, this is a very
no laughing matter.
No, it's not. And it adds to, you know, many other events like these, 2021 January, the election of the speakers, that brawl. Then there was the e-levy brawl. We are becoming notorious as parliamentarians. But our guests are on. Let's go to our guests for their reactions. Joining us for this conversation is Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, CDD Fellow. Doc, thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you and Benjamin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And we also have Inusaf Hussaini, former Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and how are you?
We are fantastic. So let me start with you, Doc. How did you feel about yesterday's brawl, that altercation that ensued at the vetting processes that we saw yesterday? Initial reactions. Dr. John Osai-Kwapong.
Yes. You know, I'm trying to gather my initial thoughts, but it was very disappointing to see the vetting process degenerate into that kind of not even just chaos, but also destruction of state, or you can even call it public property. What I find both surprising but also disappointing is that on several occasions you see these members of parliament refer to each other as my wonderful sister, my good friend, my good brother. So I keep wondering what is happening to that goodwill, if there is none left, right? That mutual respect, if there is none left. And it really boggles my mind just trying to make sense of how such a critical part, you know, of the governance process and putting a government together for a new government in terms of approving nominees can degenerate into literally a fist fight. I mean, there is a way of handling disagreements, no matter how deep those disagreements are. And so that's really my initial reaction of both surprise and disappointment to see how events turned out last night.
Let's go to Inusaf Hussaini as well for his initial remarks, and then we get incisive with this discussion. Sir, How did you feel about yesterday's event?
It was a catastrophic embarrassment. A toxic mix of immaturity.
Mr. Hussaini, we'd appreciate it if you could just speak a bit louder. Did you start by saying this was a catastrophic disgrace?
Embarrassment. Catastrophic embarrassment. A toxic mix of immaturity and impunity. And a display of a level of machismo uncharacteristic of members of parliament and unknown in a democracy. In fact, I was terribly disappointed. I mean, there's a consensus in any parliamentary system, any democratic system, that disagreement must be solved through rules and regulations and conventions laid down in democracies. That's the consensus. That when members of parliament, we are not all supposed to agree on what a motion on the table, but the way we resolve the disagreement is to vote on that. That's the consensus, and if parliamentarians do not know this and can take the law into their own hands to determine the course of action in a matter, then, I mean, I don't know whether we are I really appreciate the democratic principles that underpin our democracy in this country.
Well, let's get to the crux of the matter. It appears the minority's concern was that it was too late to proceed with the vetting processes, and they were requesting that they continue today. But the majority, led by the chairman, Bernard Ahiafo, insisted that they should continue the vetting process, which then degenerated into the chaos that we saw. Where did they go wrong, sir? I'm still on you, Mr. Hussaini.
They went wrong because they refused, neglected, or failed to subject the decision, the review of the decision that they have arrived to earlier, to another decision. So they had agreed as the appointments committee to vet about 7 ministers of state, ministerial nominees yesterday. So that was an agreement. That agreement is not revoked through acts of lawlessness. That agreement must be subjected to another decision. And that decision should be taken by everybody in a civil environment. And arguments raised and debated on the basis of the exigencies that has compelled or necessitated a review of the earlier decision. And a decision taken through democratic principles or based on democratic principles. That's how you change course when you have earlier on agreed on the course of action in the matter before a committee. You don't change course by taking the law into your own hands and displaying acts of impunity on the floor of parliament.
Ben.
That's a scar on our democratic experience, on the experiment.
You say it was a scar on our democratic experience. I'll come back to you, Yunus Hussaini. Let me go to Dr. John Osai-Kwapong. I have seen many such vettings of secretaries of state and all of that. I'm talking about the UK, the US. I am yet to see something like this. Sometimes it degenerates in the sense of loud voices raised and all that. Look at RFK Jr., for example, Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., for health in the United States. I'm wrapping my mind around why, for example, we are spending so much time. In my estimation, it shouldn't take more than 45 minutes, maximum an hour, to vet people, and other jurisdictions do this in far less time. What do you see when it comes to that angle of the vetting process so far, Dr. Osai-Kwapong?
You know, if for me, whatever the rules are that guide these vetting processes, if the rules are not working, or if there's a sense that the rules should be modified to make sure that we get the most out of these nominees, then for me, it is incumbent upon the leadership of the committee to build some consensus around, okay, for each nominee, these are the time parameters, these are the question parameters, this is how many we agree we would do in a day, etc., etc. And then you also leave yourself room for any mid-course corrections. So maybe after the first 2-3 vetting, you can huddle back and say, you know, we've done 3-4 so far. This is what is working. This is what is not working. Are there any tweaks that we can make to the rules, you know, moving forward to make it much smoother? You're correct. You can, you know, depending on the portfolio that a particular nominee is going for, you can spend less time with a nominee. But depending on the portfolio that the nominee is going for, you can spend more time. So, for example, your Minister for Finance, I would not agree that 45 minutes should be enough to vet someone going to hold a critical portfolio like the Minister of Finance, right? But whatever it is, for me, there has to be a way to agree to the basic rules that would guide the conduct of affairs in vetting these nominees. But if at some point the rules are not working, it's a matter of just getting back together, starting with the leadership, agreeing on the rules, and bringing it back to the members of the committee to say, leadership have taken a step back. We think this is working, this is not working. Here is the rules going forward. And again, it just baffles my mind that giving everything that our members of parliament say about each other, describe each other, that they can't find some goodwill and some mutual respect for each other to be able to build this kind of consensus and come to some agreement on how this should be done. Yes, I know that in the past you would have some contentious moments in these vettings, some pointed questions, even some trying to settle, some political issues that may have happened during the campaign. But I don't believe we've seen this level of degeneration into this kind of chaos. And it's really a blot on the institution. I just hope that when they resume, they would have had enough conversations in the background to say, look, we cannot repeat this, and let's find a proper way of moving forward.
Right. I'll come back to you quickly with this, and then I'll go to Inusaf Hussaini. First off, on the time bit, obviously they don't have any time frame, and I agree with you. One ministry may require less time. We all saw Namomo Latte and how brief her vetting was for the gender ministry. It's not to say anything about or denigrate the ministry, but the finance minister taking more time. But at what shouldn't we be applying, and I'm sorry I have to use common sense, in terms of if you have someone sitting there for 5 hours, like we did Sam George, and I agree, in the past, the Honorable Ejako, Energy Minister, we did similar things, pretty long. But do you need to keep someone for 4 hours, 5 hours, even 3 hours, even 2 hours, before you can assess that this person is either fit or not fit for the work? Now, you would have seen some people, even yesterday, saying, and you, this, you will see. It's in the video. You will see. We'll show you. I mean, then it moves from the realm of we are vetting you to the realm of we are going to show you where power lies, because now you are in literally I mean, where do we add common sense to this?
You're correct in that sentiment. And so again, if 4 or 5 hours is a bit untoward, and if it looks like this is a question of trying to settle some political scores, again, I always go back to the rules. Rules structure behavior, and someone must enforce the rules, which is the chair of the committee. So whatever rules are agreed upon, it is also incumbent on the chair to try as much as possible to enforce the rules of the rules of procedure. Yes, I know that sometimes some members may want to either, talk over the chair, be disruptive, etc., etc. But stronger enforcement of the rules of procedure should be able to help. You see, I always say that when you don't have very specific rules guiding behavior, particularly within the Ghanaian context, I always see it is interpreted as if the rules say I can't, then it means I can and I should. And if we want to avoid some of those things, then you need more specific rules. Instead of saying, look, we are going to vet you, perhaps we need to say all vetting should be completed within a space of 2 hours. And hopefully the chairman can enforce that rule within that time parameter set.
Right. Just a quick follow-up on that, because you talked about rules. I was looking at what really, typically, the line of questioning for a nominee should, follow. We have personal and educational background, professional competence, sector knowledge, integrity, and ethical consideration. But what I find interesting is addressing public criticism or allegations and response to petitions filed against them. In the case of Sam George, and the number of hours that was spent on him. Could it be the case that he had a lot of these public criticism and allegations to clarify, which resulted in the number of hours that was spent on his vetting process? Could that be the case, Doc?
That could be that could be part of it, right? But even if you are tying it to suitability for office and there are certain allegations against a nominee, you clarify or you ask that nominee about those allegations. But if you notice, some of it seem to be about things a person said or did not say in the course of a campaign and things like that. In my opinion, and respectfully, I don't see how that is relevant to determining their suitability of office. I mean, we all know that campaign season is tough season. They all say all manner of things, about each other. But beyond that, if there are substantive allegations about conduct in public office, which you think may not make a particular nominee suitable for office, then yes, those you can probe, clarify, and make sure that, all of those things are clear. But some of the line of questioning sometimes just seems like as an attempt to settle political scores when an election is over and we are trying to move on into the realm of now trying to govern.
Back to you, Ben.
Inusaf Hussaini, so your reflection on the questions I posed to Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, especially considering that just the day before, they had been battling claims about bribery in Parliament and had seemingly put the matter to rest. Then the following day, this is what Parliament does.
Yes, Dr. Kwapong is very right. I've had issues with the questioning on grounds of relevance. How do you ask somebody whether he's a Freemason? Well, how relevant is the question to his competence, qualification, and suitability to hold office? How? And even in view of our constitution as a country, we're a secular country. Well, what does religion play? What role does religion play in recruiting people for political office? Totally, useless questions. And it's this type of useless questions that kept us glued to our TV and kept Joy FM from broadcasting or dealing with matters that will bring money to the company and giving us free service for the whole night. That kind of useless questions. So yes, quality of questions, relevance of questions, time frame within which those questions are asked have come up for discussion. I was a member of the EU ACP Joint Parliamentary Assembly, EU European Union, ACP African Caribbean Pacific Joint Parliamentary Assembly. And no matter who you are allocated time within which to make your intervention. And if you unnecessarily delay in making that intervention, you'll be bailed out. You'll be bailed out. And that's all. No matter who you are. And in that assembly, we have prime ministers. We have mayors. We have MPs. You'll be bailed out. Yes, so Kwapong is again right. But, are we facing a case of default of rules or a case of rules being weak or unenforced.
That's part of the responsibility there. That's part of the responsibility for on the shoulders of Bernard Ahiafo, the chairman.
So Bernard Ahiafo is the chairman. So which rules is he supposed to work with? The standing orders, rules of appointment. The appointment committee. And what are those rules? Do the does the standing order provide time frames within which questions should be asked and finished? Do the standing orders provide time frames within which a minister can be vetted and finished? And indeed, I always go back to our constitutional history.
Okay.
As a country, it's important for us to understand why we have brought this aberration onto ourselves. In 1969, all ministers of state had to come from Parliament. Go and read the 1969 Constitution. There was no requirement for vetting. No minister was vetted in 1969 because a minister had to be an MP, and the minister had to qualify to be an MP. And if a minister is an MP, he's qualified to be the MP is qualified to be a minister. Simple. The Constitution was overthrown. Then we brought in the 1979 Constitution and went 180 degrees. We went fully a presidential system of government where the president derives his mandate directly from the people, the parliament from the people, and then strict separation of powers. So you remember the case of Harisoya. Being a member of parliament for
we have to go, but you've really got me curious. Are you suggesting that, and some have said, if the person is an MP, that person qualifies to be a minister?
Yes.
If that person in any light qualifies to be an MP, even if the person is not an MP, what then do we do? Should we vet some and not vet others? What do we do?
So first of all, you look at the eligibility criteria for a member of parliament. So if is he a registered voter? So that struck out Scipio Gabra. You recall?
Yeah.
He must be a registered voter.
Yeah.
There's no way that they say the minister must be a registered voter. But because you must qualify to be a member of parliament, and a member of parliament must be a registered voter, that struck him out. He must be a citizen of this country. He must not hold allegiance to another country, or allegiance to another country. You want to satisfy yourself that that person who is not a member of parliament, is he a certified bankrupt? Has he been convicted for a crime of dishonesty? Has he paid or made arrangements to pay all his taxes? Has he got a character, moral aptitude to hold that office? We're looking to see what. Tell me which question have they asked that determines the competence of a person.
Sweetie, I guess at this point we should guess what the way forward is. Yeah,
but I'm just curious to know, do you think that MPs involved in violent clashes should face disciplinary action going forward? How do we stop this?
I think today they must raise the question of breach of privilege on the floor of the House and refer members of the committee who engage in that act of vandalism to the Privileges Committee to be dealt with.
Thank you. Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, same question. How do we curb this? Because this isn't the first time we're seeing an issue like this. So should members of parliament involved in violent clashes face disciplinary action as a deterrent?
Yes, I agree 100%. And whatever damages that were occurred should not be fixed or repaired at the cost of the state. Whoever was involved in those distractions must be made to pay for it. I'm also hoping that the speaker would summon them and also have, a word with them that says, it's not as if they don't even know that this is improper conduct, but if it means that the speaker should also have a strong, conversation word with them moving forward, that should also happen.
Well, thank you so much for helping us put all of this in perspective. We spoke to Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, CDD Fellow. We also spoke to Inusaf Hussaini, former Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. We have a lot more action coming your way. Please stay. Don't go away yet.